everyone, how you doing today? It's me, David, Jersey Boy Music, coming to you from the Beatles Corner, which means it is time for collecting Beatles 101. And today, this is pretty, to me, it's a little interesting. On a recent trip out west, picked up a few Beatles albums, picked up a pile of albums to put up on my eBay store. But for my collection, got a few Beatles albums, and one that I picked up is, yes, another copy of the Beatles Rarities from 1980. And to be honest, this is one of my favorite Beatles compilation albums because, like the name says, this is a true album of Beatles rarities, stuff that we, for the most part, never heard here in the United States. And as a young 15-year-old Beatlemaniac back in 1980, I have grown to cherish my original first press copy of the album. But this is a second pressing or second version of the album. And interestingly, it is a promo copy. So let's take a close-up look. There are differences between these two versions of the album. The content and the sound quality is exactly the same. I'm not going to get into nuances because there aren't any nuances with the album itself, but the covers are a different story. So let's take a look at those differences right now, shall we? Surely. Let's roll the video. All right, so here we go. Here's my first pressing copy of the US Beatles Rarities. Now, just right off the bat, the photo of the Beatles is embossed, so it's a little bit raised. There's a little bit of, you can feel it's like the photo was set on there. And even the cover, it's not a textured cover, but to me it does feel like it's got like a little pebbly or matte type of feel to it. Whereas now the second pressing, which is ironic, and like I mentioned, this is a promotional copy, which I would think would be a first copy, but this is definitely a second copy. And this cover is smooth, very smooth, does not have that like matte feel to it. It's very smooth, and the picture is not embossed. That's flat. So we're going to turn to the inside on each one and see if there's any differences. So let's check that out. So first pressing, I have them overlapping a little bit, so that's what we got. And second pressing, inside gatefold is exactly the same from what I see, and really nice. There we go. So let's check out the differences on the back cover. All right, so here we go, side by side. Both back covers look pretty much identical. The indicia on each one I think is pretty much the same. No, here's one difference. We've got here the indicia here, and then over here the indicia on the revised copy produced by George Martin. There's a producer's credit, so that's on the revised version. But everything else looks about the same. Now here's the big difference. So here on Helter Skelter, this features the mono version of Helter Skelter as it appeared on the British mono version. And the big error on here, look at that last line. It talks about when the song fades out at the end, it doesn't come back like on the stereo version, so you don't hear the classic Lennon statement, "I got blisters on my fingers." Whereas on the revision, somebody caught that on the revision. So when the song fades out at the end, it doesn't come back like on the stereo version, so you don't hear the classic statement, "I've got blisters on my fingers." So if you don't really know the speaking voices of each of the four Beatles, you probably wouldn't know this, but for those of us in the know, it's Ringo who states, "I've got blisters on my fingers," not John. So they corrected that error on the first version of the back cover. They could have said, now on the revision, they could have said, so you don't hear Ringo's classic statement, "I've got blisters on my fingers." So they probably couldn't even figure out who said that. So, they didn't want to make another error. So that's the big difference, how you can easily spot the first and second versions of this album. So let's take it back to the studio. So there you go. I mean, this this is a nice copy to have, especially since, when I was a kid and I bought my first copy of the Rarities album, you're a kid, you got a cheap record player, and there was somehow a scratch in the first song, "Love Me Do," appeared. So, I've been wanting a replacement copy, and I want to thank Al Babbitt at Disc Cover Records in Nampa, Idaho, for selling me this. It was a good price, and his Beatles selection when we were there was super lean. It was this and a copy of Something New, and I think there was a bootleg in there as well, but it was a little pricey. But Al, thanks again. Really nice little store. If you're in Nampa, Idaho, and you know where Messenger Pizza is, and that was the other stop that we made, had lunch at Messenger Pizza. My wife and I love that place. And it was, when we lived in Idaho, we'd go to Messenger's and we'd get some pizza, and it was really good. And it's still good after all these years of being away. It was like coming home. But then going to Disc Cover Records right across the hall from Messenger's was great. So if you're in Nampa, go visit Al. Support your local record stores because, like people like Al, they're passionate about their records. They're passionate about music. And you want to support local businesses. But of course, if you can't find what you're looking for, or if you don't have local record stores, come visit me at jerseyboymusic.net, and I'll bring you over to my eBay store. And I got several hundred records listed. Got several more to go through. In fact, one of the records I got on this trip at an estate sale was a mono version of Elvis Presley's first album. It sounds great. I'm going to be listing that soon as I get a chance. But anyway, lest I digress. So anyway, that's what I have on this video for the Beatles Rarities. Again, this is one of my favorite Beatles compilation albums. And if you don't have it in your collection, I think it belongs in your collection because, at this point, getting a mono version of the White Album is going to be pricey, but you can get 2 tracks from that mono White Album right here on this album. Some of the songs appear on Past Masters, but you know what? This is nice, and I would love to see an updated Rarities collection put out by Apple, like Rarities number 3. So there you go. I'm going to be rambling, so I better stop. So until next time, it's me, David, coming to you from the Beatles Corner. I'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great day. Catch you soon.